All right, welcome into Buffalo Plus. Mike Catalana, Dan Fetes, Jenna, Cottrell. We are breaking down the Bills' win over the Dolphins, what it means for them as they set up to have the first round of the playoffs against the Colts. We're not sure exactly when that game will be, whether it'll be Saturday or Sunday. But, Mike, I want to start. Actually, you know what? Dan, we're going to start with you because you were at the game today. Your overall impression as this team looks towards the second season, which is, of course, the playoffs.
Well, they did exactly what I was hoping they would do. They kept that momentum going that they've had for the last really 10 weeks, really going back to the Kansas City game was the last time we really thought they came out flat, maybe the Jets game. But they kept that momentum. And guys, this offense, Mike, I know we've talked about it a couple times. This offense is a little Chiefsy in the sense that they can struggle for a couple of series and then all of a sudden just flip a switch. And then all of a sudden it's touchdown, touchdown. They don't get the ball back because of punt return because they're pretty good on special teams. And then another touchdown. Sean McDermott's banging timeouts because they want the ball back, like right before halftime. Like, this is a cocky team. Mike, I know you said it on Buffalo Plus earlier. Like, Josh Allen won't say how confident he is.
Yeah.
But he's ridiculously confident right now.
Well, his play is showing it, Jenna. I mean, he is very confident in his teammates. But to Dan's point of not saying it, he doesn't say it, but man, it shows up. The way he plays, he is a confident quarterback. And there's very few guys like that. And look at the MVP race. It's Mahomes, it's Aaron Rodgers, it's Josh Allen. I mean, yes, it's also in past years, it's guys like Russell Wilson that you see. But I mean, there's very few guys that just stand in there. Now, look, what has he not done? And won a playoff game. Okay, so he's going to get a shot at doing that this year. But as a regular season quarterback, he is having a historic year for the Buffalo Bills, and he is dictating to the other team. Every moment he's on the field, he's dictating to the other team. That's what the great ones do.
It's so true. And to see him mature over this last season in general has been fun to watch. And we know Bills fans have enjoyed it. I see a comment on here, Danny Lee asking, when is the playoff game? So they haven't announced what times or when the teams will be playing. We do know it'll be this upcoming weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. They have not announced that yet, but the Bills will be playing the Colts. That's about what we know right now. We know, of course, Dan, the Bills will be hosting the Colts.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Another thing that we talked about, just the confidence and the way the team is going. You've seen the maturity that this team has gone throughout the season. And I thought it was interesting. Mitch Moore said today after the game that the Dolphins came out and punched them in the mouth off the get-go. And that stuck out to me because the last time they were punched in the mouth was against the Tennessee Titans. And that pretty much stumbled them for about 15 days.
We have breaking news. Bills will host the Colts at 1 p.m. on Saturday.
Boom.
What's going on with that?
Wow.
How in the world are the Bills a 1 o'clock Saturday game?
Thank you, Rayanne, for the heads up there.
Right.
I see Matt Beauvais and other people have tweeted it out. As well.
I'm not a fan of, well, first of all, yes, I know a lot of people like Saturday at 1. And maybe, and I'm not kidding this, maybe with the Bills having fans in the stands, they would have wanted an afternoon game. I don't know if that makes it any different. But I thought the Bills had proven they're a primetime team. And when you look at the teams playing, no Rodgers and no Mahomes that first weekend, and Josh Allen's not in the primetime. I know Brady probably is. I haven't seen the whole schedule. But, okay, so Saturday at 1 o'clock. Well, we'll be ready.
Well, I bet you this still draws the highest number. How about that? This game will still hit the biggest number rating-wise of the weekend.
No, not on a Saturday at 1 o'clock. It can't do the best number. And especially against the Colts. It'll do a decent number, but that's a tough time, Saturday at 1 o'clock. Sunday at 1 would do better, but that's the Houston Texans time. That's where they hide the Texans. Now, I know there's 3 games this year each day. It'll do spectacularly well in Buffalo and Western New York. Nationally, it'll do well. It's tough to get, you're 10 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. It's, people want to see, you want to see Josh, but I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed too that it's a 1 o'clock game. That's where the Bills Jags game was in 2017, right?
Oh, and Mike, we were at that game.
Yeah, early. It's like they hide it. I mean, the Bills shouldn't be hidden. The Bills are, The Bills are the most exciting team in the league right now.
Yeah. That's kind of surprising. I do see some other breaking news. The Jets firing Adam Gase. Not really a surprise there. But Adam Gase done after a couple of seasons with the Jets. I wonder who could take that job.
That's going to be interesting. I mean, there's going to be a lot. Tomorrow will be a day when a lot of these jobs are announced, even some interim guys, maybe in Atlanta and Houston, that are going to get, they're going to say they're going to open it up. Maybe those guys will be interviewed, that type of thing. But yeah, it's, the Bills are no longer playing that game. The Bills are the team that's, one of the favorites. I mean, honestly, right now, Dan, you would know the numbers. I know they're favored against the Colts. I'm going to say probably a touchdown, maybe somewhere.
Yeah, it's exactly. They've opened up as a touchdown favorite. I have seen some 6.5s, but I imagine those will get hammered pretty quickly because that 6.5 to 7 is a big number in Vegas. So
yeah,
to get that.
So when you say that, you mean it'll get hammered by Bills fans or people like the Bills,
drive that up,
and the number will go up.
Yeah. Like if you wanted to bet the Colts, I know there are a couple people in here saying the Colts are going to play well in this chat. I think if you're a Colts fan, I think you wait because I think the number will only grow. I think that if you're a Bills fan, I think you jump on this line now because it's not going to get any smaller than what it opened up at.
Right.
There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about, we talked so much about Josh Allen, but Stephon Diggs this season, I saw it's Diggs led the entire NFL in both catches and receiving yards. I mean, Mike, we talk so much about Josh, but obviously Diggs has been, it's insane the way he's playing in Buffalo.
Well, and especially because he's playing in Buffalo. There's a reason that the Bills haven't had receivers to do this. They haven't had the offense. They haven't had the offensive minds. They haven't had the talent. They haven't had the quarterbacks. They acted like the forward pass was, secondary. I mean, they had too many coaches that maybe their only way to survive with limited talent and not great quarterback play was to try to play that, sort of the way McDermott played early when he had Tyrod as the quarterback. And, so they would play to manage the game and win. And they got to the playoffs that way. But, now you can throw it. But Dan, there's one thing about having a passing team and wide receivers that can catch. There's another thing about having a guy lead the NFL in catches and yards. That's spectacular. Yeah,
and the Bills have never had that. And it's just a fact of, again, we knew that the Bills were getting a true number one wide receiver when Brandon Beane traded for Stephon Diggs. They didn't expect this. They didn't expect to be trading for the number one wide receiver in the NFL. And that's what Stephon Diggs has turned into. I mean, the chemistry between them, we've probably talked about it, not ad nauseum for Bills fans, but we talked about it pretty much every week, just how good they are together. And you saw that again today. And like, that's why I made the comment earlier about the Bills offense looks Chiefsy. It's because they can just flip it on. I mean, like you saw the first few drives and everybody's like, that's like, what are we doing here? Like, this isn't building momentum. And then all of a sudden, Brian Dable opens up the playbook a little bit. Josh Allen gets a little bit more comfortable. The Dolphins defense was the number one ranked scoring defense heading into this week. The Bills kind of blew that open by putting up 56 points, the second most in franchise history against them.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, but you just see that when this offense gets going, it's just that feeling that even bad plays are still 7-6 yards a pop. And it's just deflating for a defense to be like, we did everything right, and it was still now it's still 2nd and 8. Like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking at Dan is tweeting Rams Seattle at 4:40, Bucks versus the NFC Wild Card winner Sunday at 8:15.
It's like rivalry.
Yeah, Browns and Steelers is a good primetime game Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, those are iconic team in the Browns. I mean, the Steelers and the Browns finally making the playoffs. Ravens Titans, a 1:00 game on Sunday. Bears and Saints. Yeah, I get all those. I honestly don't know this. Seattle needed to play a little later. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And they stuck Brady in there on the nighttime game. Hey, look, if the Bills win, I think the games, become later games and more primetime games. And so we'll see. But yeah, okay, Saturday at 1, they start the playoffs. So let's see how they do.
I saw an earlier comment just asking about the Colts. Like, Dan, what are your initial impressions? Very initial We haven't really dove into it yet that much, but of Indy.
Yeah, it's interesting. As the games kind of broke down today, and it was pretty much narrowed down to, you knew that it was going to be the Colts or the or it was either the Colts or the Titans. And both of them, both running backs can run. And that's what's going to be all of the talk of this week. It is going to be, can the Bills stop Jonathan Taylor? A lot of people.
He had over 200 rushing yards today.
Yeah, the national media loves Jonathan Taylor, the way that he runs as a rookie. Obviously, I still think the Bills dodged a bullet.
He was my pick for the Bills when we did the mock draft. Just want that out there.
And I think the Bills did dodge a bullet by not having to face Tennessee, because not only do you have a great running back, you also have a quarterback that I would take Tannehill over Phillip Rivers at this point. Now, Phillip Rivers is a veteran guy. He's played in the playoffs. I'm happy for all of that, but Phillip Rivers doesn't scare me as much as Ryan Tannehill does. Yeah. And Derrick Henry scares me more than,
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor. I think I was going to say James Taylor. This game is going to be all about the trenches. Sean McDermott's going to preach it all week. It's going to be the big uglies in the trenches. It's going to be, that's where this game's going to be won. And the Bills have shown physical games against San Francisco, against, the Patriots wanting to play a physical style of game. Miami wants to play a physical style of game, that the Bills can not only play physical, but they can also finesse you and go right over the top of you. So it's going to be interesting. I think this is the better matchup. I still don't think I've changed my tune a little bit on the Ravens. I don't necessarily want to play the Ravens. I definitely also, looking way far ahead, if Josh Allen were to face the Cleveland Browns, he might throw for 7,000 yards. Because Mason Rudolph with 315 against the Browns secondary.
Yeah. I mean, and the only thing is, the Colts are well coached. Phillip Rivers, though, needs a lead. He needs when I say a close game, he needs a close game with the lead, because otherwise, what we're going to get. We're going to get painful Phillip Rivers on the sidelines with an excruciating loss. But they are a well-coached team. I tell you one thing about the Colts. They tackle very well. That has been their MO all year. Like, they wrap guys up. They don't have missed tackles. I believe they led the league in that stat. So they're that fundamentally sound defense that makes those kind of plays. They can run the football. I mean, they have Nelson at guard, who's by most accounts, if he's the best offensive lineman in the league. But I think the only type of game the Bills lose is if they are not playing their game. Like, they get themselves bogged down somehow. And look, Isaiah McKenzie was spectacular today, but he's not Cole Beasley. And you're not in that spot at the moment where it's 3rd and 5 and you need 6. Doesn't mean Beasley or McKenzie can't make a play, but Cole Beasley makes that play. Yeah. And so that's the only part that you kind of go, okay, could make you a little anxious. But, it's funny, Dan, you said Mitch Morris said the Dolphins punched him in the face. Did you really think the Dolphins punched him in the face? I didn't really see.
No, I thought it was awkward. I definitely thought Miami came out with more intensity, which is what you expected. Miami was playing for their lives, and the Bills weren't. Mike, you make an interesting point, saying that the Bills want to get ahead and make Phillip Rivers beat them.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get behind and let Jonathan Taylor and this offensive line dictate the pace of play. Guess what, Mike? The Bills haven't trailed at halftime since Kansas City. They have led in 11 straight games in the locker room at halftime. I mean, that's astounding. And you look at Brian Dable and Josh Allen have been incredible in the first 30 minutes of the game, which is going to be crucial. I totally agree with you, Mike. Moving forward this week, again, to get off to a hot start, because you can get pressure on Phillip Rivers, because saying that he is statuesque is an insult to statues, because that is how immobile Phillip Rivers is.
That is so funny and pretty accurate. People asking about the status of Cole Beasley. We know he's dealing with a leg injury, knee injury.
Well, the closest we have, Jenna, is what McDermott said.
Yes.
Week to week.
But I feel like if he can play, he's going to try.
Maybe. I don't think it's like desperation mode. They're going to get him on the field no matter what. I think if he's ready to play and there's not a question, he plays. Otherwise, I don't think they rush him out there. I don't think they say, it's not the AFC title game. Every game they got to try to win. But like, if he's not ready, you don't throw them out there and then you potentially lose them. If you win, you lose them longer than this. I think that, look, they should have the offense to score enough against the Colts and win because the defense is playing better. And, heck, special teams scored, defense scored. They did all of that. So I think all of those things play into it. But if he's ready, he'll play. When they say week to week, I just think they know he's not coming back in a week.
Yeah. Okay.
It was nice to have John Brown back. Obviously, I know somebody talks about Kenny Stills coming off the bench in the comments. From what I've heard, they're in negotiations. They think it's going to happen from the person that I've talked to. It's language. It comes down to contract language, but I'm surprised it didn't happen this week because, Mike, you got to get a guy in. You got to get him tested. Then you got to get him to practice. And, again, the Bills are missing another walkthrough because their game is actually Saturday earlier, so it's less time for Stills.
Wow.
So
Kenny Stills ain't playing.
I don't think Stills is going to be an impact this week.
No. He will not be playing on Saturday no matter what. If they get him in there, they get him in there. I don't know how the protocol works. He's been in the building. He's tested. If he isolates, I don't know if that can count towards the time. I don't know how that works. But they are not desperate to say, we got to get him on the field and he's got to play this week.
Dan, please read that comment from Thomas Burke.
Hey, we found another running back. Woohoo. Yeah.
Antonio Williams, 2 times.
Well, it was obvious today the running game was dominant. 2 touchdowns. Basically what's carried this team.
But Josh Allen broke their spirits. That was the epitome of the Dolphins just giving up, letting a step guy of Antonio Williams.
Let's talk a little bit about the Dolphins. I tweeted the division standings, and I put the Bills first and the Dolphins in second place, about 8 inches down on the screen. There's no comparison between the two. And I'm sorry, I know everybody's stuck up for the whole, you play the guy and you get Tua, whatever. Tua would have had to play this week anyhow because Fetes, not a veteran move. I don't know how he ended up getting COVID, but wherever, he's got 14 kids and maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But in the case of, to me, Tua today played like a guy who's been benched before.
I agree completely.
He looked like they had the third pick in the draft. Like you might be thinking about a quarterback with that third pick.
That confidence is shaken.
Yeah, and I thought that was telling the way that we asked Micah Hyde about Tua this week, and he was like, yeah, he's smart. He checks it down. He's accurate. And it's like the Bills players defensively they'll be the first ones to compliment opposing quarterbacks. They'll be like, man, watching this film, it's crazy. They called Justin Herbert one of the best rookies they've ever seen. Wasn't playing like a rookie. They knew what Tua's limitations were, and they just fed off it, and it was telling. Tua looked like a rookie quarterback that was lost.
Yeah. A couple of comments I did want to get to. Someone asking, the Dolphins have been eliminated. They are not making the playoffs this year. And then someone had a comment earlier on saying how Josh Allen looks like he's been doing this for years. John Marlowe saying, and, Mike, you asked Josh about just the confidence that he feels in terms of it being a year later and just the comfort level he's at.
He said it's night and day. That's what he was asked today. And he said it was night and day, the difference. And it really is, if you go back a year, what did we think about Josh? Like he hadn't thrown for 300 yards. They rarely, other than a couple Dolphins games, rarely carried a game with the passing game. Like they were better. He was good, but it wasn't like Josh Allen's dealing.
Yeah.
And he came into that game, and you remember, and he caught that touchdown pass, and they were off to a good start. And they had the lead at half. Maybe could have had more, and then it fell apart in an ugly, ugly second half and overtime. He is so much better now than he was a year ago. Like it is monumental, the jump he's made. And I've said this before, and it sounded like hyperbole, but I'm talking about the two guys we're comparing him to for MVP. And I still do believe Rodgers is going to win.
Yeah.
But he has the poise in the pocket of Rodgers, and he has the athletic ability and arm of Mahomes. Now, both of those guys are steps ahead of him. They both have Super Bowl championships. They both have been MVPs. So they have proven it at the biggest level. But the combination of those two things, I mean, I think Deshaun Watson has a lot of that, and I tweeted today, that guy deserves a better franchise than he has around him.
Yep.
But Josh Allen has the coaching, the teammates, the confidence, the physical ability. He's a star, and he has that calmness about him. Now, let's see if he can take that into this level, because it changes. It does. The stakes are higher. If you get into that third quarter of the game with the Colts, and for some reason it's 14-13 Bills, like, it's a lot of pressure on the Bills in that game. So I think he's got it in him, but he's got to prove it on the field.
Yeah.
It's funny, Mike, you talked about that, the difference between night and day. Last year, going into the playoffs, Josh Allen was the liability. Josh Allen was the one that people were going, hey, if Josh Allen can just, keep it together against Houston and not turn the ball over, then like the Bills defense has a chance to get this done. Now it's like, how is anybody going to stop Josh Allen in this Bills offense? Like that is where we are at. So.
Ooh, no, you can highlight comments.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Wow. We're learning as we go here. Jam VP. I'm kidding. JAMVP hashtag. I did see a really good comment. It was from Handsome. Interesting name. I wonder how the Colts feel knowing they are playing the Bills.
Yeah. Williams saying Colts,
happy to be
probably Pittsburgh, no excuses. Take care of business now. We're better than them both. Anything can happen in the AFC Championship game. We need to handle the Colts. So
that's another one. These are great. Thanks for following us along as well, everyone. Yeah. We impromptu decided to do this. Yes. And remember, all of these type of stories that we do, or these type of conversations, are always on YouTube page of Buffalo Plus. So you can always check that out, and ever growing subscription rate too. So we love it. Anything else you want to touch on tonight, guys?
No, other than I think the AFC is still loaded up, and it's much better than the NFC. But you don't have to worry about the NFC till the Bills get to Tampa for the Super Bowl. But in the AFC, you do have Pittsburgh, you do have Baltimore. It's Baltimore-Pittsburgh too. That should be a lot of fun to see that game. So, and obviously Tennessee, like you guys mentioned, there's there's a lot of talent, and Kansas City's sitting there waiting. It's going to be fun, but there's nobody better than the Bills right now. Kansas City has that status, and they deserve it, but they're not better regular season-wise than the Bills. Like I said, it's the point that they've proven in the playoffs.
And I think the Bills I know we've talked a lot about leading up to this week, who was the best option, or who would the Bills fans, who would you want to face the most, who would you least want to face? I originally thought the Colts were a lot better offensively. I think Phillip Rivers is wearing down. I think there's a lot of tread on those tires. I think the Bills drew the second best option behind the Dolphins. I think if they would have gotten the Dolphins again, that was the best bet. And then I think the Colts, because I wouldn't want to play Tennessee and I don't want to play Baltimore right now. So I think Bills got the second best.
You're right, Dan. I had one concern about the Dolphins. You beat a team 56-26.
Yeah.
And then what changes? If Fitz was back, I think he either starts or he comes in fast in that game. Like, he's ready to go. I think, honestly, they probably still would have started Tua, but Fitz would have seen a lot of time. And then what are you going to do? Beat him 56-26 again? I mean, the emotion, you've already blown them out. That would have been the weird part with Miami. I don't even know if Fitz could have been back with the protocols.
It would have been Sunday. He couldn't have played Saturday. He could have played Sunday.
So you wouldn't have to worry about him. Saturday at 1. Fitz would.
No, but I agree, because we were saying in the press box today, after McKenzie's punt return for a touchdown, we said Fitz would probably be warming up on the sidelines in the second quarter. Yeah. That would have been when it made it 21-3.
Yes.
And we said in the press box that would probably be Fitz would be warming up.
Angela.
There's
no doubt in her mind the Bills will beat the Colts.
Look at that.
Confidence out of Bills fans.
Humble and hungry. That's what the Bills always like to say.
Oh, my God.
Jenna, what?
You are channeling Sean McDermott with your humble and hungry.
Also, I just want to clarify, I'm not in a janitor's closet right now. I'm just in the 13 Wham Sports office.
You do notice in the background there's the 47 dresses that Jenna brings to work.
This doubles as my closet. There's Papa Shot as well.
Yeah.
And that's Dan and Mike's mirror over there. They use that all the time.
Yeah.
Can't keep them away. All right. We will have plenty more coverage as the Bills get ready to host the Colts upcoming on Saturday. Be sure to keep it on Buffalo Plus. Like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out our page, buffaloplus.com. We have plenty more information. Like we said, a lot to get into this week as the Bills look to win their first playoff game since 1995. So for Mike and Dan, I am Jenna. We will see you this week as the Bills get ready for playoff game number 1.